If someone sent you a love letter tonight, would you open it? What if it looked harmless, just a text file, a sweet subject line, a familiar name? That's how one of the most destructive cyber outbreaks in history began, and that was only trap number 1. Welcome to Cyber Case Files, 3 classic attacks, 3 simple doors left unlocked. And the same lesson every time, they didn't need to be the smartest hacker in the room. They just needed you to trust the wrong thing for one moment. Case File 1, the love letter that ate the world. It was May 2000, offices were humming, email was the new oxygen. Then inboxes lit up with a message that felt irresistible. ILOVEYOU. The attachment looked like a note-love-letter-for-u.txt, but there was a trick hidden in plain sight. Windows by default hid the final part of the file name. The harmless TXT had a tail, VBS a script. Click it and you didn't open a letter, you pulled a pin. First foothold, a user double clicks. The script runs, no alarms, no Hollywood fireworks. Just a quiet set of moves. It copied itself, scanned the address book, and emailed itself to everyone you'd ever trusted with a message. It hunted for common file types, images, documents, and replaced them with its own clones. In simple terms, it was a contagion built on our own curiosity. You didn't need to understand code. You just needed to be human. Escalation. The virus didn't guess passwords or crack encryption. It didn't smash firewalls like an action movie. It simply piggybacked on your email to move faster than any one defender could react. Each victim turned into a sender. Each sender multiplied the fire, payload. Within days, mail servers choked. Corporate networks slowed to a crawl. Some organizations shut down their email entirely to stop the bleeding. The worm also pulled in additional components from the web, looking for ways to steal credentials and deepen the mess. Impact. Up to 45 million machines touched. Billions of dollars in cleanup and downtime. Emergency IT triage. Lost workdays, corrupted files, entire calendars rewritten. All from an attachment that said, "I love you." Why did it succeed? Because the message was simple and familiar. Because the system hid the danger behind a harmless-looking extension. Because we are wired to trust people we know. That's the quiet thesis of so many cyber disasters: exploit design defaults, borrow credibility, ride emotion. The code was the engine, our assumptions were the fuel. Case File 2, the big box breach that started with a small door. Fast forward to 2014, a major retailer. Miles of fluorescent aisles, cash registers chirping like crickets. Behind the scenes, a quiet chain of trust kept the whole machine running: contractors, vendors, remote access accounts. One of those smaller partners gets tricked into giving up login credentials, not to the core, not to the crown jewels. Just a maintenance door, initial foothold. The attackers used those borrowed keys to get into the network. Think of it like a mall after hours. You don't need the vault code if you can get a custodial badge that opens the side entrances. Escalation. The intruders moved carefully. They mapped where those credentials could take them. In big companies, networks are layered like a city offices, tunnels, restricted corridors. If those layers aren't tightly separated, one valid pass can get you disturbingly far. The attackers found their way to the point of sale systems, the actual checkout lanes where cards go beep. Payload. Custom malware landed on cash registers across the chain. Not a virus that erases data, something subtler: memory scraping. When you swipe a card, the card's data briefly lives in memory on the register before it's encrypted for the bank. The malware skimmed that moment, like a camera catching the reflection in a window before the blinds shut. The stolen numbers were bundled, moved to hidden servers, and sold. Impact. 56 million payment cards exposed. Tens of millions of email addresses harvested. Banks reissued cards by the truckload. Fraud teams worked overtime. The company faced lawsuits, penalties, and over $100 million in direct breach costs, ultimately much more after settlements and improvements. The most expensive part wasn't replacing machines. It was rebuilding trust. Why did it succeed? Because a third-party account had too much reach. Because internal segmentation wasn't strict enough. Because a tiny, routine login became the master key to the castle. The attackers didn't need to reinvent the wheel. They just watched how the building operated and used the rules against it. Case File 3, the data leak that turned into a human crisis. Summer 2015, a dating site selling secrecy. Promises of discretion, anonymity, and a clean slate. Then a group calling themselves the Impact Team claimed they'd stolen the crown, user data, internal emails, proprietary code. They issued an ultimatum: shut the service down or republish everything. Initial foothold. The exact opening move is still debated in public sources, but what matters here is consistent with so many breaches, an internal system reachable, an account with more power than it should have, a process that assumed the inside was safe. Once inside, the attackers pulled data quietly and thoroughly, like removing books from a library one volume at a time. Escalation. They didn't just grab usernames. They scooped profile details, internal communications, and password hashes. Not clear text passwords, but values that could be cracked over time if the protections were weak. They gathered billing metadata last for digits of cards, not full numbers, but enough for extortionists to weaponize. Payload. When the countdown ended, the data hit the open web. The breach wasn't just a spreadsheet, it was a map of human choices. Employers searched names, blackmailers spun up. Families got phone calls. The psychological blast radius was enormous. Impact. Over 30 million accounts exposed, lives appended. Public shaming, threats, in some cases, tragedies. This was not a story about clever code. It was a story about how data, once collected, can escape, and when it escapes, it cannot be unseen. Why did it succeed? Because the service held concentrated, sensitive data. Because internal access controls and monitoring weren't sufficient to prevent or quickly detect a quiet exfiltration. Because once the attackers had time inside, they moved at their own pace. What connects these three? A love letter, a vendor login, a secret site. Totally different worlds, same skeleton. Step 1, initial foothold. A click, a credential, an inside door. Step 2, escalation. Move from what you can see to what you can monetize. Step 3, payload. Worm the network, skim the cards, dump the data. Step 4, impact. Real people, real money. Real nights without sleep. Here's the twist most people miss. The technology changes, but the behavior stays the same. Attackers are patient, practical, and opportunistic. They will always choose the cheap trick that works today over the elegant exploit that maybe works tomorrow. That's why old tactics keep coming back in new clothes. You can feel the rhythm if you listen, the subject line shaped like a key. The partner account that quietly opens into the heart of the network. The database that becomes a lever on a million private lives. In every case, defenders have a fighting chance when they minimize trust and maximize visibility. Midway point, let me pause and ask you something seriously. Which of these three traps feels most likely to catch you or your workplace, and why? Drop your answer below. And if this breakdown helps you see the patterns, tap like and subscribe so you don't miss the next case file. Back to the scene. Imagine the ILOVEYOU morning in a modern office today. The email arrives as a PDF, a voice message, a delivery notice. The attachment looks clean. The sender is your boss. The trick is the same. Use a trusted surface to smuggle an action you didn't intend. The antidote is also the same. Slow down the click. Verify out of band. Hover over links. Open attachments in a viewer that can't run code. The tools can help, but the habit is the shield. Walk the aisles of that big box store again. The registers are newer, the networks are segmented. But if a partner still has a wide door into the environment, the story can repeat. Vendors are convenient. Vendors are also attack surfaces you don't fully control. The defense here isn't paranoia. It's discipline. Limit what each account can see. rotate credentials, monitor for unusual access at odd hours from odd places. Hang a bell on every door, return to that dating site. Replace it with any platform holding concentrated, sensitive data, health records, financial portals, cloud backups. Data that can embarrass, extort, or identity theft you becomes a magnet. The safest copy is the one that never existed. The second safest is one encrypted and segmented so that a single key can't open every room. If you've ever cleaned up after a breach, you know the most expensive R's aren't the technical ones. It's the aftercare, calling customers, resetting passwords, reissuing cards, explaining to regulators, paying penalties. In the ILOVEYOU days, companies learned to filter risky attachments and show full file extensions. After the retail breach, companies learned to wall off the card environment and audit vendor access like hawks. After the 2015 leak, many learned to late the cost of hoarding sensitive data and the necessity of strong hashing, aggressive monitoring, and fast incident response. But this isn't just a corporate story, it's yours. It's what happens when your email, your bank app, your cloud drive, and your social accounts become one long hallway with too many doors left ajar. You don't need to panic, you need a plan. 3 takeaways you can implement tonight. First, put multi-factor authentication on every important account: email, bank, password manager, cloud storage. A password is something you know. A second factor is something you have or are. That second factor turns a stolen credential from a master key into a useless souvenir. While you're at it, use a password manager to generate unique, strong passwords. If one site is breached, the damage doesn't spill over. Second, treat third parties like power tools, useful, but dangerous without guards. At work, that means least privilege access, expiring vendor accounts, separate networks for sensitive systems, and alerts on unusual remote logins. At home, it means reviewing which apps and services connect to your accounts. Revoke what you don't use, update what you do. Assume any shared access can eventually be misused. Third, minimize the data footprint that can hurt you. Don't store what you don't need. Use alias emails for risky signups. Turn on transaction alerts for your bank and card. Freeze your credit if you don't need new loans. For any payment or invoice change at work or in life, verify with the phone call using a known good number. The 2 minutes you spend verifying can save you from a 6-figure mistake. If you want to go one level deeper, remember this: visibility beats guesswork. Turn on login notifications. Check where your accounts have been accessed from. Scan your email rules and forwarding settings monthly. Keep your operating system and apps updated so the easy, known doors are closed. Update your router firmware. Yes, really. Your home network is a small business now. Let's tie the knots. The love letter showed how a default setting hidden file extensions can smooth the path for a bad decision. Translate that to today. Your phone shows you a preview in iMessage or WhatsApp. Your cloud suite lets a macro run with one click. Your browser hides the full URL. If a tool hides detail, you need to add friction. Reveal extensions, disable macros by default. Use a PDF viewer that doesn't execute scripts, strip active content in email. The retail breach showed how a small partner can open a big hole. Translate that to today. The thermostats in your office, the cameras in your building, the plugin on your website, the contractor's laptop at the coffee shop. If it connects, it counts. If it counts, it needs boundaries. Segment networks. Separate admin accounts from daily use. Put the cash register literal or digital on its own island. The 2015 leak showed how data becomes a weapon when concentrated and unmonitored. Translate that to today. Your cloud drive full of scans, your photo backups with IDs, your email archive with a decade of receipts. Ask yourself monthly, if this folder leaked, what would it endanger? Then reduce that risk, delete, encrypt, or move it behind stronger locks. Humans crave convenience, attackers bet on it. That's the real cat and mouse game. Not supercomputers, not cinematic lasers. Just patience, patterns, and pressure on our blind spots. Tonight, someone will receive a message that looks friendly. Someone will approve an app's access without reading. Someone will trust a login that should have expired. The story will repeat unless you interrupt it. So the next time a subject line feels like a tug on your sleeve, step back. Ask, who sent this? Why now? What happens if I open it in a safer way first? When a vendor asks for access, ask, to what exactly? For how long? What alerts will tell me if something goes sideways? And when you collect data about customers, about yourself, ask, do I need this? Or am I just hoarding it because storage is cheap and discipline is hard? The case files are not bedtime stories. They are blueprints for prevention. You don't need to memorize acronyms. You don't need to become a security engineer. You just need to build habits that make you inconvenient to attack. Because when the love letter lands, when the maintenance door clicks, when the secret spills, the people who walk away fastest are the ones who prepared before the music started. One more thing, if you've ever opened something you shouldn't have or trusted the wrong request, you're not alone. The bad guys designed for that. Shame is part of their strategy. Break it, report early, reset fast, learn once, move on. 3 traps, 3 different decades, same lesson, slow down the click. Lock down the keys, shrink the blast radius, and sleep better tonight.